And joining me on the phone line right now is Mr. Keki Mistry. He's the former VC and CEO of HDFC, an independent director and advisor on several boards. Good afternoon, Mr. Mistry. Thank you very much for taking out the time to speak to us.
My pleasure.
Mr. Mistry, to begin with, I'm sure you've interacted with Dr. Manmohan Singh on several occasions. What were your fondest memories of the former Prime Minister?
I would say the fondest memory of Dr. Manmohan Singh was his humility. He will always be known for his perseverance, his humility, his visionary leadership. He was really a towering figure of integrity and intellect. If you look at the India of the early 1990s, 1991, as we all know, we were in a real financial difficulty as a country. And he was the architect of the economic revolution in India. The 1992 budget, which opened the Indian economy to foreign investment, will always be known for years and years and decades to come as the dream budget of India. So I think that is the one thing which really stands out during that period. And then later on, when he became the Prime Minister, at that time also, despite it being a coalition government, he pushed through a number of reforms. He championed landmark initiatives like the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, the Right to Information Act, all of this which empowered millions of people. I think what stands out for him is his quiet dignity, his unwavering commitment to public service, and despite all his towering achievements, he always remained humbled all his life.
Right now, Mr. Mistry, there are prime ministers who are known for having won wars, and this one was the one who won the war for India as far as our economic liberalization, our stride that we see today as India moves forward with a great amount of self-confidence. Would you then say that he also won us the biggest economic war that we were faced with during that time?
I absolutely agree. You know, that was a time in 1991 when we were in real serious financial difficulty as a nation. We had pledged gold and, we were almost on the verge of defaulting on an IMF loan. And as India's finance minister, he displayed extraordinary courage and foresight. When we were facing that kind of an economic crisis, he boldly introduced reforms that transformed our economy. And his visionary policies not only stabilized the nation at that time, but also opened the pathway of liberalization, which then opened up opportunities for growth and global integration. And what we are seeing today, the powerhouse that India is today, India is a big voice in the global economy. And the starting of that started in 1992 with the opening up of the economy.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And as you were pointing out, a large part of the growth that we see today is because of the cascading effects of what he did. So give us more details in terms of how the fruits of liberalization actually also helped HDFC grow as the largest housing financier in India, because it does appear to be a parallel journey.
In those days, in the early 90s, 1990, 1991, there was no foreign ownership of equity in India. And for us at HDFC, all our shares were held by domestic institutional investors. And then with the opening of the economy in 1992, we started seeing foreign institutional investors start putting in capital into India. And obviously, HDFC was a big beneficiary of that. And then the opening up of the economy in 92 followed the opening up of the banking sector in 1994 when we started HDFC Bank, then the insurance sector later on when we started the life insurance company in 2000, the general insurance company thereafter, the asset management company. So all of these different ventures, HDFC transformed itself from being just a pure, simple housing finance company into a financial conglomerate, holding equity in bank, life insurance, general insurance, asset management, education finance, and so on and so forth. And all of this really started with that 1992 budget, which opened the Indian economy.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And in fact, when HDFC Bank started, I think Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister and he formally inaugurated the bank's head office. Any memories that you could share with us of that?
I can remember one memory clearly. That was, I think, before 1992, but in 1991 probably, when our chairman at that time, Chairman Emirates at that time, Mr. H.D. Parekh, he knew Dr. Manmohan Singh very well, and Dr. Manmohan Singh wanted to meet industrialists in India to understand what needed, or to get some insight on what they believed needed to be done for the Indian economy. So there was a meeting organized in the HDFC office at that time. We were sitting in a small office in the Raman House, so in our boardroom, and we had every senior industrialist, various people sitting around the table, and Dr. Manmohan Singh was there with one or two security people and one more finance secretary, I can't recall the name, who was with him. And he heard our suggestions. He was with us for almost, I would think, an hour and a half. He heard everyone's suggestions. He responded. He put in his counter to what was being suggested. And I think it was an extremely fruitful meeting. And this was prior to the 1992 budget. This was sometime in late 1991.
And Mr. Mistry, I know you're a busy man, but finally I just wanted to ask you something about the nuclear deal, because as he opened up the economy, it was still under, the stewardship of the then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao. So the political risks were his, but Dr. Manmohan Singh was the architect also of the nuclear deal. And after the nuclear deal, we actually had a situation where India opened up and was looked upon as the world, perhaps as an emerging power. What are your thoughts on that?
Actually, I think India's relationship with foreign countries, which in the 80s was not that great, I think that really opened up during the period, 80s and even the 90s, I would think, was not great. I think that really opened up during the Manmohan Singh regime when he was the Prime Minister, and the various initiatives he did, the nuclear treaty that we talked about, the relationship with the U.S., which improved dramatically during that time. So he did a lot of things quietly, humbly, without being, without doing too much of publicity around it. His contribution to India's progress, his values of integrity, inclusivity, all of this should continue to guide us for generations.
We were speaking to a host of people since the morning, and not just people who are eminent personalities, but for the common man. Here was a man who changed how India was. I mean, for those of us who can think back to 1991, where we had that one small Maruti car, from there to where we are today, from how we've transformed ourselves in telecommunications, in every walk of life, in a large extent, isn't it thanks that we owe to the people who were governing the country at that time, who decided to go ahead with a bold move, which essentially changed the trajectory of the country economically?
Absolutely. I think the transition of the Indian economy from being a closed-door sort of an economy to what we are today, which is far more open. Globally, we are the third, fourth largest economy in the world. Our voice, the Indian voice, is something which is heard everywhere in the world. We are an extremely important destination for foreign capital. There is no other country in the world which provides the ability for investors to put in large amounts of capital. All of this started with the opening of the Indian economy 32 years ago. So I think we should all draw inspiration from Dr. Manmohan Singh's remarkable life and strive to build a nation that reflects his vision, which is one of progress, compassion, and opportunity for all.
Now, Mr. Mistry, thank you very much for joining us on NDTV Profit. Appreciate your taking out the time.